Okay, recording in progress. Okay. All right. Reisi laharis. Other woman, Rabbi said you just have to be a little quiet because I'm on a Zoom here. Reisi laharis preis chlusam v'tautsam v'das hazois v'shiva inyonim agalavam goydel tosa. So Ramila says we now start the sixth parak, the security mentality, exposing the security mentality. He says we ended up yesterday talking about people who want to delay their preparation for Olam Haba until they have financial security. If we go back, we see it then the parak Chamishi, Yoimar, when someone rebukes the people without bitachon. Virenu Moira, and they teach him V'Yarmaloi. And Moshe to Masalim Echashay B'Tzedoscha V'Yonei V'Ismayadecha. How long are you going to delay? How long are you going to Misalim and put off thinking about preparing for the next world? So Yoimar, he responds, actually, day Panasa. Say, I'm waiting until I have enough money in the bank with people, G'Chol Shariti. Supruki, my needs, and for everybody who's with me, Meisha, my wife, my banim, my children. So if you're made at the end of our life, when I have a nest egg and it's all put away, then Tanuach Nafshi Midaga Asylum, I'll then be at ease. My mind will be at ease from the worries of this world because I have enough money. And then I'll have the time, I'll be free to pay my obligations to Hashem. And then I'll think and I'll plan preparing the provisions and the Torah and mitzvahs for the next world. As an aside, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it here, this idea, and then I'll be free and to do these things. So we have the famous Pirkei Avos that says Al Torah K'She'efta. I'll try my kashef the Shemalite Tifon. Don't say that. Okay, when I have time, that's when I'll do mitzvahs because you never know. You never know if that's going to happen. And it's a little bit of a freaky story, but this happened up in Afula, where my son lives there. And he was in Kerlo with the Rosh Kerlo. I can't hear you. You're talking here. So the Rosh Koilo said a shmooze in the Koilo. Said a shmooze on this idea. Don't push things off because you don't know what's going to be tomorrow. And as he finished the shmooze, he collapsed. They tried to keep him alive for a day or two, but he died. And that was his last words. Don't push things off because you don't know what's going to be tomorrow. All right, but this is what this guy says. This guy who doesn't be talking, so he needs have the money in the bank. So in Perik Shishi now, the haLevavos wants to devote some time to talk about how that's such a mistake, that philosophy, that the life plan. Sechlusam v'tausam. So Rav Miller has a little introduction. They believe that when their minds are at ease from worldly worries, they'll be free to pay their obligations to Hashem. Such people have a security mentality. They say they want to devote themselves to Hashem and to mitzvahs, but they must wait until they've saved up enough or gained enough property to ensure that they have enough to live on for the rest of their lives. Consider that young man who said he would surely come to Shiurim, but first wanted to make a great deal of money so he could retire early. That's what we're speaking about here. People are willing to serve Hashem on condition that first they make enough money to guarantee that they'll have enough for the rest of their lives. Okay? So says the haLevavos, I think it's important to expose the foolishness and the falseness in this attitude in 7 ways. If our discussions may be lengthy, what's it say? Ravush yesh min habiush v'ateichoches bali adei azois. because these 7 arguments put to shame and rebuke those who have this attitude. Vehem kat balei hamashkonis, calls them a sect. They're people of balei hamashkonis, means they want a mashkin. God, you got to give me a mashkin, collateral. When I have the collateral, then I can serve you. A security, he calls it a security mentality. They want a guarantee from Hashem. And so they ask him to put up a pledge before they get busy serving.
Is that so insane though? Like,
well, listen, he said he's going to give you 7 arguments. Why don't you wait and see what he's going to say? And then we'll discuss
it. You know?
That's right. The time means you can't wait until then, right? You weren't on the Zoom meeting when I said over. There was a Rosh Kollel in Afula. I have a son who lives in Afula. He was learning in that kollel. He said a shmooze. About Al Terma Kishefna. Shemalei Tipana. Don't say I'll do mitzvahs and then whatever when I have time, because you may not have time later. And as he finished that shmooze, he collapsed, and a day or two later he died. So it was, I guess, the message came through very strongly there. Right, so we know this thing. Let's see his 7 arguments. You know, I'm sure he's gonna include that into this thing. They're like the businessmen. He sells merchandise on credit. To somebody does not trust to pay up. So what does he do? The guy doesn't have money. He wants to buy on credit, but he doesn't trust him. He takes a mashkan, a pledge. He takes some surety. Is that the word? Collateral.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's afraid of his client is not trustworthy. And even if he's honest, he may not be able to pay it. Right? So the guy comes in, wants to buy an expensive item, and he's not able to pay now. So the guy says, okay, give me a gold watch until you pay it, then you'll get it back. So they're saying to Hashem, basically the same thing, right? They're saying, sure, I'll serve you, but first I need to know that I'm covered. You want us to become devoted to your service? First, give us a pledge. Put down enough money that will last the rest of our lives. Okay, that's what they say. And there's a lot of people like that. When I retire, then I'll be able to dedicate myself to learn. I'll be able to dedicate myself to tournaments. Right now, I have to make a living, I have a family, and I got to put money away for my old age. But it's like he said, it's people who do expect to learn. So he says like this. We said that. And Rabbi says no basis for a pledge. Appreciate the first argument. Imagine coming to a bank and asking for a loan. The banker says he's willing to lend you the money, but not all at once. They'll give it to you in 3 installments. You're not likely to tell him, I want to make sure you keep your word, so give me some security that you'll give me the money. Right? You ask him for a loan. He says, I'm going to give it over a year. You don't say to the bank, well, I'm not so sure I can trust you. Give me a security that you're going to give me the money. And the reason is because he has the upper hand. He's the banker. You don't want to take it this way. I'm not giving it to you. You can't make conditions how I should give you the loan. Right? So that's what the Chovos is going to say here. Hashem has all the power. So how can a mere mortal ask him to guarantee that he's going to keep his word? Larisha may often have Chovos. This is the first answer to such a person. You doubt the power of Hashem's decree. And you don't believe in the greatness of his might. So you question his ability to do things for you if you serve him. Whose light of intellect has become so dark, the cover there and your lamp of understanding has become extinguished. Bigvor afelas tavosela, because you're overcome by the darkness of your desires, and whose mission to gain wealth has darkened your mind to the plain open fact that Hashem has total power over you. Your attitude is perverted and unjustified. All right, so the Chovos was saying the reason why the person's blind and doesn't see the situation the way, like the example of the banker, is because his desire, his Teves, to have the money, to have the pleasures is so strong that it perverts his thinking. It's only fitting, it's only right to ask for a mashkin from someone who's your friend and you're equal. He doesn't control you. And a man does not require your obedience. You don't have to listen to him. He's an equal of a socher, but let's say I have a hired worker. When he hires himself to work for people, and that person now does have the open hand over him, he's going to be his boss. In terms of the mashkin, it wouldn't be correct for him to ask for a pledge of his salary from his employer before he did the work. You ask for a dog from someone, and the guy makes up he makes up your salary, and you say, "But woman, I don't know if I can trust you. Give me a collateral on the salary." That's ridiculous, right? You can't do that. And certainly so an Evid. Right? Who doesn't an Evid sold to the master? He has no rights. He can't ask the master, give me a guarantee of some sort for what you're going to pay me later. So much more the created being. He can't ask from Hashem for a security before he does his obligations. Right?
Rabbi Langson?
Yes, sir.
These examples, these human, I understand the God example, but the human example doesn't really work because we have systems in society to protect those who are owed money, whether regardless of the relationship. So these, it's like you have holds out the pole. You have all these types of institutions. So if someone does get messed over by an employer or whatever agreements, there are ways to deal with that.
That's true, right? In our society, we have courts, and if you were ripped off, you could go to the court, right? And and in Torah also there's such a thing, right? If someone damages you or someone owes you money, you can go to Besdin, right? And Besdin has powers of what you call hatzah. Well, there is such a thing, but initially, the guy who's looking for a job, and you're looking for a job, you're not going to tell the guy who's hiring you, listen, I need some security that you're going to pay me. Say thank you, I'm giving you a job. You don't want the job, so goodbye. I don't have to give you security. You don't like my terms, I'll find somebody else. Right?
But that's exactly the point, is that I don't need that security from the employer because I have ways of dealing with things if it doesn't work out. That's why I don't.
No.
Of course you do.
No, you're right, but that doesn't take away from the point that there's no place. That's not why you don't ask for security. Let's say there was no court. Let's say there was no place to turn afterwards. Still, you're coming to a guy. You need him. He doesn't need you. Right? You need him. You need a job. You can't make conditions.
That's parenthetically not true.
I don't look. Look,
if there was no.
Might need you. Sometimes he might need you, the only person available. So then you have something over him. But in a regular market, a guy he's going on interviews. He's looking for jobs. He's open. He's looking for jobs. He's looking for interviews. He can't come in. This is what I'm offering. This is how much I'm paying. This is the hours. This is the job description. You don't like it, so I'll find somebody else.
Right, but that only works in a scenario when you have ways of dealing with it. Otherwise,
no.
What do you mean no? Of course not. Of course it is. If we didn't have Hotzah L'Poal, if we didn't have these ways of dealing with these things, then it would be obligatory almost for any potential employee to create certain assurances that the employer will make good on their
No.
dues.
No,
Yes.
the employer will tell that guy, I hear what you're saying, but I just, keep on moving. There's someone behind you.
No, you don't understand. It's because this works on a societal level. If the concept of Hotel Paul did not exist, then
Right.
it stands to reason that the structure of employer-employee scenario would look very, very different. Okay.
I don't know if you're right.
I'm
pretty
sure.
haLevavos is talking about it at the time. They didn't have a source of all. I don't know if you're right, because if I'm in a power situation, then I call the shots. That's the way it is. So now, we have a Western society, and we're worried about the poor, we're worried about the people being knocked around. So we have all these things. It wasn't always like that.
Look, the whole we call it, the whole Ramoshes haLevavos heter whatever, right? Is that people have a general fear of the government, that something bad will happen to them if they break the rules. And it's the same thing here. An employer can be like, if I don't make good on my commitments, then I'm going to get sued. I'm going to go after. So you make sure you do everything according to the letter of the law. If we're taking that element out of it, if the employer has no fear of not making good on his commitments, then it's an entirely different playing field. And I don't think that's something we just assume that won't happen.
What would it be? You need food. You got to pay your rent. What would you do?
No, again, what I'm saying is, if there's no Hotel Paul, every contract that would be associated, right? You're saying that there's no such thing as a work contract, because work contract stipulates, because I can use this document if one of us fails our obligations to the other, and I can claim that in court. So you're just trying to say that there's a work situation where there's no such thing as a contract. So you're saying, oh, please. Right. So
I have a big company. You need to pay the rent. You need to feed your family. You're coming to me for a job. I'm offering you a job. Now, you're going to the workers can try to find an honest employer. But the employer could say, if you don't like it, if you're going to start making all kind of contracts, I'm not giving out contracts. You can't come and demand it. You live too much in Western in this like liberal world. So you think you come demand it. How could you demand it? How could you demand it? You need it. You need him. He doesn't need you. You can't demand it. Okay, so now the society that the underdog and all stuff. But at first, it wasn't always like that. And I'm the boss. I have the money. I have the business. You need a job. You don't like my conditions, and my conditions are, I'm going to pay you at the end of the month. You got to trust me. And that's it. You can't come and say, I'm not going to work unless you give me some. So don't work. Goodbye. There's 10 people behind you. There's a whole list.
Anyone who would work under a situation where they have no way of guaranteeing, they're absolute fools. You can say, oh, they're desperate, but the facts is that you're absolutely. If I have not always worked for the most honest individuals, okay? But because of that, I have to step out. But thank you. Sorry.
All right. Okay, so now we can move on. Okay. Okay, so he's saying, and certainly if it's an Eved, excuse me a minute.
Sorry, I have a meeting now. Later. Bye.
What?
I have a meeting now. I gotta go. I have a meeting. I have to go. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. We'll speak later. So certainly you're not going to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And here Ron's argument with him be true, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is faithful. And then when the Shalom story, it's not a question. We believe Hashem is going to pay our reward. It's not like our pay for whatever we do. For our work, we're going to get paid. It's that there's no question that that doesn't arise. He said you can't go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, you know, I'll only work if you give me security. I mean, it would be surprising. If the service that a servant gives his master we perform on condition that the master pays him a reward, a typical master would naturally consider it disgraceful. You're a servant. We should be willing to serve Hashem without any kind of pay at all. So how can we say to him that we'll serve him only on condition that he pays us in advance? When you're dealing with the Creator who made you can't ask him for any kind of pay. We owe him, he doesn't owe us. The fact that he pays us is irrelevant. I can't come to him and say, you want me to do things, pay me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you ever tried that on your parents, you want me to help in the house, you got to pay me, right? If they were smart parents, they would throw you out of the house. What do you mean? I feed you, I take care of you, I have what do you mean, pay me? So how could you say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want me to serve you? You got to pay me in advance. If he promised to pay you, that's more than enough, but it's ridiculous to ask him for a pledge. That's Chazal tells in Pirkei Avos, don't be like servants who serve the master on condition to receive a reward. It doesn't mean, and that was the mistake that Tzdukim and the Baisusim, it doesn't mean that you don't get a reward when you serve Hashem. It's just saying that when you serve Hashem, it should be done without that as a condition that I'll only serve you if you give me reward. Our service to Hashem should be open-ended. And certainly so, to have the audacity to turn to Hashem and say to him, and not only that, I want the money in advance. The Kedem Zamar Kosev, similar to this pasuk, says, Hal Hashem tigmul uzayis, is this the way you repay Hashem? Am novov l'chacham, you low, unwise nation. So in conclusion, the first argument is that you ask for a pledge when you're doing somebody a favor in order to make sure he repay it. If I'm lending you money, I'm doing you a favor, that's where there's place to say, I need a mashkan, I need collateral, I need something that I can rely on that you'll pay me back. I need co-signers, I need something. When I'm doing you a favor, I could ask. But when you're getting a favor, it's not logical that you're able to ask the person who's doing you a favor, but I need to know that you're really going to do it. Give it to me in advance. That's the first argument against that logic, to say, I'll serve you, Hashem. I know I have to serve you, Hashem, but I'll do it later. First, I need you to pay me. Okay, we'll stop here. Shani is on Sunday. It's Hashem.